The fluorescent lights illuminated the off-white floors of the chain pizzeria in which I found myself. The copy-paste decor stood before me, brazen in its banality. I sat in one of two chairs laid out in the lobby. It was ambitious for them to have two chairs, but alas, they were both filled. From my place in the lobby, I noticed as a middle-aged woman walked up to the counter. She caught the attention of the cashier and vocalized the order she expected to receive. "1 thin crust pepperoni pizza, please." The cashier obliged her and slid a cardboard box across the counter. "You're sure this is a thin crust, right?" "Yup." The cashier nodded, and the lady left. Moments later, my food was ready. I left. Upon returning to my abode, I endeavored to sup upon the finest of chain pizza. I had ordered 1 pepperoni, 1 cheese, normal crust. But lo, upon the opening of the first box and gazing upon its contents, my eyes were greeted with a most surprising sight. A pepperoni pizza to be sure, but not a normal crust pizza, a thin crust pizza. It took a moment and then it dawned on me. I had received the woman's thin crust despite her diligence. I laughed for a moment at the suffering of this stranger and sat down to enjoy a slice or two of this thin crust pizza I had been gifted. It was the worst pizza I have ever had. The dull roar of my car engine did little to offset the dull throb of my constant existential anxiety. I did that on my own, as I pushed it down like I had done so many times before. Pizza. I was just going to pick up pizza. Thin crust. Greg didn't like the normal crust. It had to be thin. The metronome tempo of the turn signal kept time for me as I made my turn into the parking lot of the shopping center. It was dinner time, or shortly before, so the parking lot was full of cars. Some were parked, but others scuttled about the lot like ants at a picnic. I was one of those ants. The anxiety bubbled to the surface again as I navigated the scuttling little creatures, all going to and fro about their respective business. I pushed the anxiety down deep once again where it belonged and parked the car. My phone buzzed as I was exiting the vehicle. It was Greg. The text was simple. "Make sure it is thin crust. Thank you, dear." You only told me 5 times before I left, but this last reminder really drove the point home. I didn't respond before I exited my car and walked into the shop. The door made an electronic facsimile of a chime as I walked through it. The fluorescent lights bore down upon me as I made my way up to the front counter. There were 2 gentlemen in the chairs in the lobby, but I paid them no mind. I had called ahead and had been quoted a time. Surely, my food would be waiting for me, and I would not have to wait for it. An employee made his way up to the front counter to greet me. He was young. He seemed like he didn't want to be there. He looked a bit stoned. "Hi, 1 thin crust pepperoni pizza, please." He reached into the large metal shelf that kept the food warm while it was waiting to be sold. He retrieved a single box and slid it across the counter to me wordlessly and with a glassy-eyed gaze. He was definitely stoned. "That'll be $10.88. I reached into my purse to produce my credit card. Sliding it across the counter, I attempted to solicit some sort of reassurance. "This is thin crust, right?" "Yup." He ran my card and handed it back. It didn't feel like thin crust when I picked up the box. The anxiety began to bubble to the surface once again, and once again I stuffed it back where it belonged. Wordlessly, I took my card and the almost certainly traditional crust pizza and left the establishment. Greg was furious. He hated the traditional crust. It tasted like cardboard and was loaded with carbs, he ranted, as he sipped his 4th beer of the evening. This was all my fault. I should have checked the box before I left. Didn't I get his text? I said nothing. The drone of his irate grumblings were like a gnat buzzing about my ears. Annoying, but banal. I ate my 3 slices of pizza, and he had his 5. All the while, the gnat continued to buzz about my ears, but it bothered me not. It was the best pizza I have ever had. The joint sizzled for a moment as I took a deep hit off of it. I inhaled deeply as the smoke billowed down my windpipe and into my lungs. Soon enough, I would be awash in the pleasant buzz of chemicals produced by my brain at the behest of this burning plant matter. Soon enough, this terrible job would become tolerable. There were 2 customers in the lobby. I don't remember what they ordered, and I don't really care. Worst case scenario, one of them would be a Karen and complain, but this happened all the time. I'd regurgitate an insincere apology and make them another pizza. Our food is trash anyway. They don't pay me enough to care. The joint was about halfway through when I heard the sound of someone entering the lobby. Great. Another one. Probably the pickup order that I forgot to make. I extinguished the joint and made my way back into the store to satisfy another valued customer. She was standing at the counter looking at me expectantly. This was the pickup I forgot to make. I could just tell. "Hi, 1 thin crust pepperoni, please." Crap. I went into the hot box and grabbed the first pizza I saw. This should be good enough. "That'll be $10.88. Imagine, actually paying for our food. "This is a thin crust, right?" Hell if I know. It sure doesn't feel like a thin crust. "Yup." She paid and walked out. One of the customers in the lobby had been there for a while. I suppose I should go check if his food is ready. I leave the front counter area and do just that. Lo and behold, there is a thin crust pepperoni coming out of the oven. Huh. I guess one of the underlings made the order that I had been ignoring. Good for them. His food was actually ready 5 minutes ago, but I'd given it to the lady in the lobby. I handed him his 2 pizza boxes and he walked out of my store. 2 more happy customers, I told myself, as I walked back outside to finish my joint. Whatever, they were all just unremarkable pizzas at the end of the day.